I'm never going to kill this Sobek, right? He's just never going to be a target that I'm going to be able to deal with. But the Gooby, those types of characters, those are people that I'm going to be able to deal with. So I'm going to pop my Thorns right here. At this point, I'm just going to keep on trying to walk away. I got my Athena ulting in so I can actually turn back around a little bit. Because I've got that Stone of Gaia proc, I regen a lot. And all of a sudden, even though there was 3 people on me, the fight's not looking too shabby. So hello everybody, we are here with your King Arthur guide. You're going to be taking him into the solo lane. King Arthur is like the one god in the game that I actually like the Bluestone pendant on. So we're going to grab ourselves a Bluestone pendant, a Chalice of Healing, and honestly this game we've got a Baron's Brew as well, so I'm gonna grab the Baron's Brew. At some point if we need to sell that to be buying wards and stuff, that's fine, but this early game double sustain is gonna be really nice for us, especially considering we're going more aggressive with our starter item. And then I'm gonna grab myself a Blink. At the start of the game, you basically have 3 active options over in solo. Blink is the most aggressive, then you've got Teleport, and you've also got a Shell option, just because Shell is such a good active, and depending on the enemy team comp, it's actually pretty good for baiting as well in the early game, the enemy solo laner into a compromising position. So level 1, we're gonna grab our 1 here. This is gonna be our main wave clear ability. It's also quite good for PvP damage. So for the most part on Arthur, we're going to be going more hybrid defensive with the build, but you start off with the Bluestone because you've just got so many dang abilities on the Arthur that you get so much value out of going this Bluestone, because you're going to get that proc on every single ability that you're throwing out. And because you're Arthur, you've got 12 million abilities, so you're going to be able to proc it all the time. I'm going to go directly over to this totem right now, and I'm going to try to get it. I find that the first about 3 totems are extremely important for your team. So always try to get those first couple of totems. That MP5 really helps out your mid laner and your jungler, depending on what, if they did not go like Sabumba's dagger. Now I'm against a Sobek in lane, so I can't get too close to his towers, because otherwise he is going to do that. He's gonna pluck me right into them. So I'm just gonna be a little bit careful about my positioning, mostly just focusing on clearing the wave, and he's gonna focus on basically just trying to pluck me out of my abilities. So at level 3, I grabbed my 2 here, just to make sure that I have every ability. Sobek has the Vampiric Shroud as his starter item. If you're going up against a Guardian in the lane, they are going to out-sustain you, particularly a god like Sobek, who already has sustain built into his kit. Guardians are actually very good in the solo lane right now in the early game with that early sustain. The Vamp Shroud just really helps them get a lot of value out of their AoE abilities. And we also did the start that is better for the jungler than it is the solo laner. So whenever you see a solo laner start at the blue buff, that is basically doing the start that is more beneficial for the jungler, because it helps them go for the early gank. And if you see the solo laner starting at speed buff, that's a little bit more of a solo lane focus start. Help the solo lane get some more XP, get that level 3 a little bit faster, and get a little bit more lane pressure. So on our Arthur, we're going to be leveling up our 1 to max first. Some people like to level the 3 first. I'm not entirely against it, but I find that the 1 provides a lot more damage, a lot more lane clear, and a lot more quickly because it's not really interruptible. Your 3s are interruptible, so like a Sobek can pluck me out of these. And if he plucks me out of my main wave clear, that's obviously problematic. So I prefer to level up the 1 because you can't get interrupted out of them, and so you never have to even worry about who you're actually against, because there's nothing that can actually stop those abilities from doing their damage. Now, I've got enough for boots right now, so I actually do need to back. Sobek is backing as well, though. I'm looking at his active. He actually did not have an active yet, so he may or may not get teleport here. Regardless, I'm going to clear one more wave. In the solo lane, you have to be very careful about when you back. If you back before clearing the wave, you can actually get quite far behind just from missing that one wave, because it does take you a hot minute to walk back to solo. Now, as I'm walking back to solo on Arthur, I am actually going to use quite a few abilities here, because they're going to get me back to lane a lot faster. On Arthur as well, generically, you should know that you want to put a auto attack in between your abilities for the most part. This is going to give you more distance in terms of, like, you saw me coming back to lane there. I used an ability, and then I used an auto attack, and then an ability, and then an auto attack. And that's going to give me more distance, because all of Arthur's auto attacks are actually little mini lunges. So he's going to ulti me here. I'm actually going to take quite a bit of damage. I need to just have my 2 ready to get myself out of this, and we're going to continue to sustain up with our Chalice and our multi-pot from Baron. So for my boots, I've opted for the tank boots. Basically, right after my blue stone, I started embracing right into the tankiness. If you're snowballing in lane, maybe you're winning pretty hard, you can go for the Warrior Tabi. But just generically, the reinforced shoes are going to be better for you. You're going to do plenty of damage just baseline because of all the abilities that you have. So you really just need to make sure that you're staying alive. As long as you're alive, you're going to be able to do a lot of damage. Now, there's 3 people over here in the solo lane. I'm going to use my ulti right here to stun the Gooby and then follow up with my big ones on him. They're going to grab the kill on him and Sobek. I'm going to go down on that because I was actually standing still, basically inside of that Gooby ult. But we get a 1-4-3 trade off of that, which is fantastic. Now, against this team, they are rocking a triple magical, double physical, with one of their physicals being Horus. So I'm actually more concerned about magical defense than I am physical defense right now. And they've also got a fair amount of knockups. So for my starting items this game, I'm going to go into the Genji's Guard first. Genji's Guard going to give me that magical defense, make the Sobek a little bit less annoying, and it also looks like they're running a magical jungler with the Janice. So I'm going to get defenses both against the Janice and the Sobek. And then I'm going to get myself a Stone of Gaia. Stone of Gaia is going to give me a bunch of regen and HP. And it's going to be super efficient against the Sobek in lane. And eventually that Horus later on, because we're going to get a lot of good Gaia procs, which is fantastic. So now I'm just going to try to use my abilities on Sobek as much as I can. Just try to get some poke on him. I don't have my... I do not have my blue right now, so I do need to be a little bit careful. But Arthur can be pretty hard to actually gank, especially when you have your Chalice going. But they're going to keep putting that pressure on me. I don't want to be spamming my abilities too much without the blue up, but once I can go get my next blue again, then I can go back to just regular spamming of abilities on Arthur. But the little gank rotations have just made us be a little bit more careful. Gonna have to use my ulti right here to try to get my blue. Unfortunately, Sobek was just outside of the range of that, so he doesn't get stunned long enough for me to secure. So now we're just gonna have to continue to play a little bit more defensive. He's gonna have the pressure in the lane, which is pretty standard against a Guardian with that early Vamp strat, because they're going to out-sustain you every single time. So I opted to level up the 1 first this game. That means my level order this game is going to be 4, 1, 3, 2. Gonna level up our ultimate whenever we can. Give us that extra damage. Our ultimate is going to be up on Arthur a lot. We build it up through our abilities. The more that we're out there slamming all of our abilities, the more that we're going to be building up that ulti, which has, of course, those 2 forms. You've got the lesser ulti, which is that little block stun. And then you've got the bigger ulti, which is going to be the giant. Take you up into the air and slam you back down. Both ults are actually very good, so it honestly doesn't matter that much which one you're using throughout the fights. But if you can build up your ultimate and have it all the way to max, start off with that and then land a couple abilities, chances are you'll get the small version of the ulti built up really quick, and you can actually do your big ult and your small ult in a fight pretty close to almost back to back. Then we level up our 1, because we're going to get great burst damage out of it. Finally, our 3 for the sustained damage. And then lastly, we're going to rank up that 2. Our 2 provides CC in the form of a knockup and a slow. But the slow duration does become more, so that's nice to have leveled up. But we're more concerned about just the fact that they provide CC at all, which is why we level it up last. And you can't, like, have a longer knockup in that case. So no eyes on my Sobek. Gonna call the enemy missing there. Gonna grab this totem. At this point in the game, I would say around probably just under the 10-minute marker, these totems do start to become less important. You'll start to see solo laners start to not care as much about grabbing that totem. The real big thing that the totem provides is that early MP5 for the team. But once you get to this stage of the game, the MP5 really isn't even that important. So now I'm not super worried about the Sobek killing me, so I'm just gonna go straight for some proxy farms so I can start moving through their jungle. Gonna make sure I've got my potions proccing on me. I'm just gonna run straight into them. The minions are still a little bit bugged and don't aggro proper, so some of them kind of ran past and then came back, but that's fine. And now we can start running through their jungle, putting out some deep wards. As a solo laner, this is your like preferred position to be in. When at all possible, you want to be proxying in the enemy's jungle, taking away as much farm from them as you can, but you do have to be careful. Obviously, one, for getting ganked, but in this particular case as well, I also have to be careful generically against the Sobek, because if he comes back, plucks me into the tier 2 tower. Now I'm taking a lot of tower damage, and he does have some potential there to solo me. So next up, I'm going to get myself that Stone of Gaia, going into that because of all their knockups, everything that they have. And I'm also going to get a, let's see, shell for my team. No, they don't really need a shell. I can actually go more selfish this game. So I'm going to get myself a Thorns for the counter damage. Thorns is really good against gods that are very reliant on lifesteal, so it's going to do really strong against the Gooby. Now I'm going to blink into this fight and immediately start looking for some enemies. Going to use my 1 to throw down the cripple on the Janus. It runs off him though. He portals away and the dodgy can chase him down, and now I can go back to lane. So as a solo laner, you need to start to rotate out pretty often after about that 10-minute marker. But solo lane, much like hunters this season, you have to be very careful about your rotation timing.
Another patriot has fallen.
You don't want to miss out on too much XP. So if you rotate too early, if you miss out on too many waves, you're going to get quite far behind in XP, and that's obviously bad. But if you don't rotate at all, and then your team gets really far behind, that's also bad. So you're trying to find that nice middle ground. Preferably, what you would want to do is you want to proxy the wave. And then after you proxy the wave, you want to actually try to go for that rotation. So right now, I'm going to try to get myself as far away from here as possible, but they have got a lot the CC, and unfortunately takes my 3 right there. And didn't even actually use my 3, so I'm probably gonna go down right here. That's all right. I'm gonna go dash this other way. Looks like the Gooby is here now too. So they're spending a lot of time chasing me. Looks like they're gonna use a Yan assault. I heard a Horus ulti going off, and they had actually sent 4 people that way, so that's fine. I spend a lot of time distracting them. I don't mind as a solo lane this season actually dying over in the solo lane as long as you're getting your farm first. So anytime that a team goes for that rotation, as long as your team is out on the map farming, it's actually a better trade for your team. The kills aren't that important, assuming you've cleared the wave. If you didn't get the farm first, you can get behind from it. But if you've gotten the farm first, there's a good chance you'll actually make it back to your tower before the farm was ever gonna make it there in the early stages of the game. Once you get to about the 20-minute marker, though, the death timer starts to get really, really long, but you should already be in the team fight stage by that point anyway. So for the characters that we don't like to go against, on Arthur, Arthur hates cripples. Cripples are the bane of Arthur's existence. Pretty much all of his kit is based around moving. If you are crippled, you can't use either of your 3s, and you can't use your 2 in your offensive stance. It is a total disaster. So anybody that has easy to hit cripples, that means the Artios of the world. It means anybody. It is so annoying for Arthur to try to deal with cripples, particularly cripples that last for a long time. So that is the #1 thing that you don't want to go against. What you do want to go against on Arthur is squishies in general. Squishies in general is where Arthur thrives. Like, I'm never gonna kill this Sobek, right? He's just never gonna be a target that I'm gonna be able to deal with. But the Gooby, those types of characters, those are people that I'm gonna be able to deal with. So I'm gonna pop my Thorns right here. At this point, I'm just gonna keep on trying to walk away. I got my Athena ulting in so I can actually turn back around a little bit. Because I've got that Stone of Gaia proc, I regen a lot. And all of a sudden, even though there was 3 people on me, the fight's not looking too shabby. Sobek pluck is down. I'm gonna keep chasing it right now. Gonna use my 1 and grab that kill. So you can see, even though I'm super far forward, right? I am by their tier 2 tower. I'm going for their buffs. It doesn't even matter. They sent 3 people for me. I took like 400 damage because I'm just HP 5 sustaining out of my brain. Plus that Stone of Gaia proc from the knockup regens all of my HP right on back. Now at this point, I am actually pretty squishy to physical damage, so the Danza Burrow could probably light me up pretty good, but he's all the way on the other side of the map, and by the time I start meeting him pretty consistently, I'm gonna have some physical defenses.
Gank middle lane.
I'm gonna rotate over to mid lane. We got the tier 1, tier 2 tower. Now I'm gonna start rotating over, help out my team. I'm gonna look for a little blink ulti potentially here onto the Danza. Danza has used his ulti to actually get away, so I'm gonna start using my abilities chained together in order to chase on this, which is gonna get me in the range of my blink ult, launch him up in the air, and give my team hopefully enough time to get here so we can grab this kill and then do the Scorpion, getting ready for the Gold Fury. So when you're combining your abilities on Arthur, like I said, make sure you get that auto attack in between them. So I'm using my 1 and I'm autoing. I'm 2ing and I'm autoing. I'm ulting and I'm autoing. This is also going to be important for a little bit later in the game, but it's just generically important on Arthur. It's important early game because if you just try to spam your abilities, you won't actually have the most efficient clear and you might run out of mana. Later on in the game, it's a lot about this movement. So when I use an ability, right, 3, auto. You see that little leap that I get from the auto attack? That really helps me catch up on people. So when I wanted to chase the Danza Burrow right there, I auto attacked, I 3'd, I auto attacked, I 2'd, just to make sure that I could keep up with them and get into the range. Gooby has blinked into this tower. I'm actually gonna keep tanking it. I don't mind so much. I got the Athena ulti on me. I popped my Thorns to make sure I wasn't a very enticing target. Gonna use my ultimate right here on the Janus. I was gonna follow up with the knockup right there, but he uses his beads, so there's no point for me to really follow up with the knockup because it's not gonna hit him anyway. But now there's a Danza Burrow kind of out of position right here. He's using his ulti, so I'm gonna let him go. And now I'm the one out of position, so I need to start using my abilities. 1 auto, 2 auto, 1 auto, 2 auto. And you can see how much distance that I can get between me and the enemy. It's another reason why Arthur can get away with playing so far forward. Now I'm gonna grab me a hybrid item right here by going the Pridvin. Pridvin, I think, is arguably the best on Arthur, maybe of any character in the game. Arthur wants the cooldowns for his abilities, but he also can proc it because his ultimate is always going to basically be up. You're actually more restricted by the Pridvin internal cooldown of 45 seconds than you necessarily are like an ultimate cooldown that maybe get down to like 70 seconds or something. Arthur doesn't have that problem because his ultimate is basically always up. So all you have to do is just use it when the Pridvin is actually up, and you're gonna get the value out of it. So I love Pridvin on Arthur. Plus, you're gonna have a generically tanky build anyway, so you're also getting a lot of value out of the actual shield because you're just gonna be building hybrid / tank every single game.
Enemies at the Gold Fury.
All of your damage on Arthur is just coming from the fact that you've got 12 million abilities that you're spamming on cooldown. So at this point, I went over to the right lane to push out that wave a little bit because they were getting close to our tier 2 tower. So I'm going to call for my team just to be a little bit careful here because I am going to be late on this rotation. I'm still going to rotate because I think I can make it here, but the fight before the fight is completely over to help out my team. I saw a Janice go through a portal, so I'm actually going to chase this quite a bit right now, try to see if anybody is going for a lazy back. Subback has to use his ulti right there, and we should be a little bit careful and start to back it back up again. So my job as Arthur now in these fights is going to be to dive the backline. As the solo laner and as a warrior, it's not really my job to peel. That is going to be Athena's job. So Athena, for the most part, there's a good chance that she's going to be dashing into the enemy team and taunting to start us off with her initiation. After that, it is just my job to run directly at their damage dealers. This game, that is going to be Janice, Danza, and Anubis are going to be my priority targets. And then Athena's going to have to reset into the back and make sure to peel for our Scotty and our Baron. So my job is to make sure that my team isn't taking that much damage by keeping their high damage dealers out of the fight. I hear a Janice over at my red buff, so I'm going to try to keep this position on him. I don't know if he has me warded or not. It looks like he does. I'm going to try to get a Blink ultimate here onto the Janice so he can't make it to his portal. He uses his beads to get through this. I think he might actually try to go a little bit cheeky back here towards our towers, and he is. But now he's ulting right on out, and there's nothing we're going to be able to do about that. But we do force the Janice ult and the Janice beads. About time that we come over here actually as well and start to do the Scorpion. But it looks like some of our team has actually gotten picked off over in the left lane while we're doing that fight. So I'm going to try to see if I can't help defend this tier 2 tower. Not going to be able to. This tier 2 tower is going to go down. So I'm not going to put myself in an out of position spot. Now my Dodgy here is going a bit aggressive. There's really no reason for us to be going into this fight. So I'm just going to try to tank a little bit for her. But I don't want to bring myself too far forward where I'm in a position where I could get killed as well. So right there was nothing we could do. The tier 2 tower was already gone. Dodgy should have just backed up with me. We should have just let him kind of have this farm for free.
Is ready.
Now the good news is that they can't actually go to do the Fire Giant because we haven't done the Scorpion yet. Gonna try to secure here. Now I don't actually mind going for this Gooby. They're gonna have a couple of people here, but they've also used a lot of their stuff already. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop my Thorn to try to keep them off me. If they come for me, they're gonna do a lot of damage to themselves. We need to keep the pressure on the Gooby in particular, so I'm gonna stun for him. I'm getting plucked away, and Horus is really smartly gonna ulti them right out of there. And I'm already back at the full HP. Slowing down the Subek with my 2. I'm going to wait for him to pluck. Then I'm going to follow up with my 3 and my ulti on him. Hopefully give my team enough time to come back, catch up. And then I'm going to immediately start on this Fire Giant. This spawned kind of perfectly for us. Scotty can come over. We killed 2. I know that the Gooby had the back with the Horus. So they might be able to make it back for this. It looks like that they have. But I can pretty much tank this for forever. So as long as I'm avoiding the Fire Giant attacks, I'm not so worried. But we do need to turn and kill the Gooby right when he comes in, because he's going to have the best secure. Once the Gooby is dead, we should actually be able to continue this fight with him. Hit him with my knockup. Danta tries to use his rocket to get away, but he's not going to be able to. And we should be able to at least shove up and get the middle tier 2 tower, if not a Phoenix as well. So reminder not to just be spamming your abilities on Arthur with no purpose. When you're first learning Arthur, I think it can be a little bit spammy because you're just like, I've got all these abilities. Look at all these things that I'm pressing. But once you get a little bit more used to them, once you've played them more, you'll actually find that while you are, you know, obviously going through a lot of abilities, you want to try to make sure that you're using them in the most efficient way possible. His 1 in this form is a cripple, right? So if you can time it correctly, you can interrupt somebody from using their movement ability. He's got a slow and a knockup that are great for interrupting. You can body block with his 3s by getting in front of people. So you just have a lot of CC and potential in your kit as well. So as much fun as it is to just say, you know, Arthur lol rolls his head on the keyboard, there also is some pretty in-depth gameplay that you can get into if you just pay a little bit closer attention to his kit. So now I'm level 20. I'm going to rank up the Bluestone into Bluestone Brooch. This is the point of the game where on Arthur you would have much rather have gone the Axe. Sundering Axe, objectively better than Bluestone at the end of the game. In fact, it is probably one of the singular best items at the end of the game, it and Boomba's Hammer. But we went for a little bit more early pressure with the Bluestone, and so now we're kind of stuck with it. You can't sell and get a new starter item. You can sell your starter item and not have the starter item at all, but you can't sell it to get a new one entirely. So I'm going to rank up my Thorns here as well as my Blink. And I'm actually going to bring myself into a Mail of Renewal for the team here. So Mail of Renewal is a newer item in Smite. The item has existed for a while, but they recently changed it, and it's really, really good. So it's going to give me HP, physical protections, magical protections, HP 5. Cool. We love all those stats. But it's going to give me more protections when I get hit, and then eventually it's going to give me a 15% HP heal plus a giant heal for my team. It is wild how efficient it is for your team. I suspect that we're going to see solo laners and supports no matter what picking up this item. So we need to make sure we put down this Gooby. I'm going to pop my Thorns as I W key kind of right at this Danza Burrow. I would like to get in the way of his rocket. The second he's done with that, I'm going to ulti him up into the air. Even if he beads, it's still going to do some of that damage to him. I'm going to continue to chase right now for the Yanis. That is Yanis's beads down. I get in the way of the Sobek Pluck so he can't use it. Gonna try to stun right here on the Horus, and we should be able to just go ahead and attack the Titan and put this one away before we even get to the Mail of Renewal. So with this build, I'm almost entirely running defensive items, and yet I will still be able to burn down a squishy with no problem, just with the Bluestone Pendant, just with the CDR, just with the baseline Arthur damage. So much of his value to a team comes from the fact that you build very, very tanky. And so they have to put so much effort into you because you can't just avoid the Arthur altogether because he does too much damage. So the tankier you are, the longer it takes them to deal with you, the longer it takes their team to peel. I still did 18,000 damage, which was just as much as all the damage dealers on our team, and I did not have any damage items outside of Bluestone, and that's what makes Arthur Such a terrifying prospect, guys, and that is our Arthur solo game. Thank you for supporting the Twitchiest community. If you'd like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel and always hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of the upcoming videos. Thank you for all your support and have a Twitchin' day, y'all.